Man, this is Deion Dawkins, man, and you're listening to The Scoop on OwlScoop.com. You already know.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Scoop, OwlScoop.com's weekly podcast, Season 9, Episode 44. I'm John DiCarlo, OwlScoop.com's editor. Back with us this week is OwlScoop.com's assistant editor slash professional cyclist slash data king. What else you want me to call you?
This is like my first time on is this like the nice part of the roast?
Yeah.
Like where eventually you're just gonna pull the rug out from under you.
Yeah,
you're a great actor, you do a lot for communities, but that being said, you're just a terrible, terrible person.
Nikki Glazer and Kevin Hart are on the Scoop this week.
Oh God. Better than for the Tom Brady one, the Kill Tony guy was the most savage one.
Yeah. I think I might have said last week that you were either on a vacation or laundering money, and I think that was inspired by the fact that Chelsea's been watching Ozark, but you weren't laundering money. You were in...
Nor was I in the Lake of the Ozarks.
No.
I was in Finger Lakes. I was on Seneca Lake, which is a lot different than Lake of the Ozarks. But yeah, I was there for like a week, which is probably a little too long for the Finger Lakes, but it was a family vacation, so I think it was kind of known that there were going to be some slower days. But it was good. Good opportunity to kind of check out a little bit. I was still very plugged in, so like
You were, yeah.
I wasn't that checked out, but it was nice to be plugged in next to a lake instead of a chair, an office chair.
What was your favorite part of the Finger Lakes?
I mean, the weather was perfect. Like when you guys were all down here dealing with like 95 degrees and a heat wave, it was like one day there was like 68 degrees, the other day it was like 80 was probably the highest I ever got. It reminded me while sitting next to a lake that I wish I had. I don't think I'm gonna go as far as saying that I wish I owned a boat, because I think that's a little extreme. And you always hear the cliche when people say the two best days of owning a boat are the day you buy and the day you sell it, because in between it's just like a hassle. But I think I want to get a kayak. I think that's gonna be I
could see you getting into kayak.
I can be a kayak guy. Just go out there, a little sixer, little portable, Bluetooth radio. Just enjoy my day on the lake. I could do that.
I could see, yeah. Can't scoop today, guys. Going to be on the water.
Look, there's cell phone reception out there.
Hold on a second. The water's getting a little choppy.
It's also a weird, not bad, but like a weird trip, because like the first 2 hours is like Northeast Extension and like major roads. Then you just spend the last 2 hours going through like weird backward towns before you get to, like, the first time we went west while still in Pennsylvania. So you're going past like Ricketts Glen, then you're kind of popping up. But the second time you went east and then down. So we went to like Ithaca, which is also a cool town, spent a day there. So you see a bunch of upstate New York is a little bit different than regular New York City.
Did you see Cornell's campus or Ithaca's campus?
I saw part of it. Yeah, I didn't spend much time on it, but I was right near Cornell, and then Ithaca College is up there. So it's like for a relatively small town, like I think it's only, 30, 40, 50, 60,000 people. Like to have like two relatively big universities there, it's obviously a pretty influenced by academia town. So it was a cool town.
We'll get some Scoop listeners this week up in upstate New York, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Talk to me about Ithaca. And I also, Ithaca and Seneca Lake. And Watkins Glen. I hiked Watkins Glen. I hiked Toggenot Falls. So I did a fair amount of hiking. Jordan was great every time we did like a hike out, but then the hike back, he just wanted you to carry him the entire time. And I'm already carrying a 30-pound, soon to be 2-year-old on my back. So to carry both was not likely to happen.
You got to get a good arm marker out.
Yeah, I don't know if it's still here. I had from the straps that I was using to carry Haley after the first like 5-mile hike. Let's see if I can show you this. I was dealing with such like bruising on my shoulders. Like it looked like
Jesus.
I mean, you're putting all that weight just on your shoulders instead. And it's kind of like, I don't know if when you went to school, if you did the thing where you overpacked your backpack because you didn't want to go to your locker in between, and then you would kind of like use your hands to take the pressure off your shoulders and put it more on like your core and your biceps. I had to do that a lot because I'm like, otherwise this is just going to shred my shoulders.
See, we couldn't, I think I've talked about this before, especially at Lionville Junior High. And then I think even at Downingtown, we could take a backpack to school. But back then the whole focus was, we don't want kids to smoke. They were just paranoid about kids smoking in the bathrooms and stuff. You could not carry your books in a backpack between classes. And so book dumping became a thing. So you still had to they encouraged people to do the old school thing where you cover your books with shopping bags.
Yeah.
But you couldn't carry around your backpack. So it was like carrying your books under your arm. So I did not overpack. I might have overpacked my backpack.
What did you keep in the backpack?
Just I would carry my books to school or anything else like a lunch or whatever. If there were books that you didn't need to take home for homework, left them in your locker. But if it was stuff you need to take back and forth, that's what you used the backpack for.
So you could only bring the backpack like
To
to
and from.
school and leaving school, like in between once you're
Correct.
at school. Okay,
Yep.
that's stupid.
Because the entire administration thought that we all had like Marlboro Reds in our
But
backpack.
also, if you were smoking Cowboy Killers, like they're pretty high to pretty easy to conceal,
Yeah.
right? Like it's a small pack, especially if you got like a soft pack. Like you could have been like a greaser and just rolled them up in your sleeve and be like, "Why are you trying to pinch me, Teach?" And like, John, for the last time, you are not in 1950s. Hey,
Starts singing Grease Lightning.
yeah,
Um,
just trying to synchronized clap. You just get bullied.
oh,
Some football player just beats the crap out of you.
your
What
days
did
are
we say
over,
about
Carlo.
synchronized dancing?
Have we talked about this before too? I don't think you guys had to suffer through this. They also took the stalls off of the
No, what?
also took the doors off of the bathroom
What?
stalls. Yes.
What?
So especially at Downingtown High School, if you had to do anything other than pee during the day, you had to basically just go sit on the
Time
toilet.
out. There's
Somebody,
one other thing. What do you mean anything other than pee?
yeah, poop.
Like there's one, it's a binary choice, right?
Yes, yes, yep. So if you had to go number two or poop during the day, people would just walk by and see you, and we got so used to it that like you'd walk by and just kind of like not make eye contact with the person,
So
and
you guys were in Gen Pop. Like you were just on prison rules for pooping.
yep, yeah,
That's wild.
yep.
That the amount of time I spent just going to the bathroom in high school and in reality I was just playing games on my phone. I can't imagine doing that with the door open. That's insane. That's the 60s for you.
Hey, the
That
late
was
80s,
the
early 90s.
roaring 20s for you. We definitely had kids were smoking, like Motley Crue smoking in the boys' room was
Yeah.
definitely like a thing kids did in high school. But then they'd come back because like cigarettes smell, so you'd come back to like chemistry and you'd be like, dude, you just reek of Marlboro. Like,
Yeah.
what are we doing?
Yeah.
But now kids
Good
vape.
segue out of this. Can you think of or no?
Um, you know who probably has a strong opinion on smoking in the boys' room? John Fry.
There we go. There we go. Yes, Temple has a new president, Drexel's John Fry, who had been in the mix for this job at least once before, if not a couple times, has officially been named Temple University's president. We'll talk about that, of course, like throughout this podcast about how it pertains to athletics. It's going to be a mailbag heavy podcast. We'll give you some news of Quante Berry's upcoming Lupus Links Golf Challenge on July 10th. And answers to your mailbag questions, as I said before. The Scoop, as always, is brought to you by Greenspan and Greenspan Injury Lawyers. If you've been injured while on the road or the highway and the crash was someone else's fault, the insurance company is not going to be on your side. You need us, Temple Law grads, will fight hard to get the compensation that you deserve. We only get paid if we win. So in Pennsylvania or New York, call us today at 215-261-7359. That's 215-261-7359. And you can find them on the web at greenspans-law.com. That's greenspans-law.com. Declan did the ad read last week and was so stoked to do it. Told him,
Oh,
don't let Mike down.
yeah, I'll have to actually go back and listen to that then. That was our opportunity for Bridget's baby boy to actually it's not her baby boy. She has another son, doesn't she? A younger brother?
He has
I think he has a younger
one of
brother.
5, right? So
Yeah.
he's 5 and is it 2?
I thought it was 3 daughters, 2 sons.
I think so. Mrs. Landis, who just celebrated her birthday on June 26th,
birthday.
along with my brother, along with Bear. We also did not mention last week, and again, this isn't your fault, it's my fault. Sam Newman, born on June 26th. So,
Oof, I'm sure he heard that too.
yes, Sam, we love you,
Although
bud.
Sam's been gallivanting around the Northeast and now North Carolina with his girlfriend for a while.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
maybe he didn't have a chance to listen to the scoop.
Yeah. But yeah, we love you, buddy. Sorry for not mentioning your birthday in there. Famous number 44 is Kyle.
Oh crap, I did no research for this. You should go first.
Well, Hank Aaron,
Yeah, sure. But
Willie
we're looking for
McCovey.
less obvious ones. Jim Brown, Ernie Davis wore it at Syracuse.
Jim Brown didn't wear 44 in the NFL though, right?
I don't believe so. And Ernie Davis never played in the NFL, right? He died before the NFL.
So Tom
Sounds right.
Rathman was a big fullback for the Niners. I think he wore number 44.
Yeah, I really should have done research for this. Major League Baseball players who wore number 44. Let's see if we can get Reggie Jackson.
Oh yeah,
or with the Yankees, Angels, and his second stint with the A's, not his first stint.
or 9 with the A's, I think.
Yeah. Sam Newman wasn't alive for this pitcher, but he was for the Mets, late 80s, early 90s.
David Cohn wore 44.
David Cohn wore 44 with the Mets. Yeah, well, William Covey, Jose Canseco wore it for 1 year.
Hmm.
And then a member of the Five Aces, or whatever they were calling that doomed
Oh,
Phillies
Roy
team.
Oswalt.
Roy Oswalt.
Roy Oswalt.
Yeah. Another pitcher, we can move on after this. Another pitcher who was really, really good for the Padres in the early 2000s and then kind of fell off. Jake Peavy.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll skip on around this date this week because that's
Did you do it or no?
did I prepare it for this week?
On or around this date, 1776, 13
Oh, that's right.
Pallies.
This is dropping on July 4th. Yes.
Although I believe, no, yeah, okay, yeah. What's interesting though is that I don't think it actually happened on July 4th. Yada yada. Okay. Okay, they first presented it. Jefferson first presented it on July 2nd, and they got approved 2 days later on July 4th.
So on around this date would be a big one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's also my mom's birthday. Happy birthday to Joanne DiCarlo.
It's also Riggins' birthday.
Oh yeah. Wait, is he gonna be 9?
Riggins will be 9 years old.
Oh,
Yeah.
little buddy.
He just continues to amaze me with his stupidity every day.
How was he on the trip?
He was fine, just stayed at home. Like he just stayed at the Airbnb. But he was good. We had to borrow my sister's SUV because there's a third row because we kind of like shove him in the back. And he was basically just like lodged. He had a little like nest, so he was fine. But he was like lodged in between like strollers and stuff. Like so I'm sure he was a little claustrophobic.
Did you bring him on wine tasting trips?
No, I didn't bring him anywhere in the Finger Lakes outside of the property that we were on. He literally just drove to a different Airbnb, had a big backyard. He could run around that, but then, yeah, he never left that property.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, bud.
Good. I don't want to call him a little guy. He's a big guy. What does he
I said
weigh?
bud. I said bud. He weighs like 50, 55, 60, somewhere in that range.
Still in great shape. Still very athletic.
No, he's just stupid as can be. You take him on I mean, he's fine. He looks the same. You walk him, and though he's just panting constantly. He flops a lot. He's definitely a 9-year-old dog.
We took Bear, CC, and Pearl out to the beach here on the bay, and they thoroughly enjoyed it today. But they were panting. Shih Tzus are not meant to be going on super long walks, but they loved it. We had to keep them away from the horseshoe crabs, jellyfish, stuff like that.
Like live horseshoe crabs?
There are right now, I think they're supposed to start thinning out within the next couple of weeks, but we get a ton of them on the bay side here. Not as prevalent, I don't think, at all on the Atlantic side in Cape May, but yeah, horseshoe crabs, jellyfish. Because I actually asked somebody from Lower Township, I said, is the water like, why don't I ever see anybody in the water down here? Like you can swim in it, but you'll probably step on horseshoe crabs around this time and jellyfish.
Okay, so you're saying in the ocean. You had to keep Bear away from, or in the bay.
Oh no, the horseshoe crabs wash up a lot on.
That's only when they die.
Beach. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You find like their carcasses on the.
Yeah, and then there's a big national wildlife preserve where like it's the whole circle of life thing where these birds come in, they eat their eggs, and it's really complicated. I could get into.
I know when they wash up, usually by the time like a human finds them, a lot of times they've just been like the flesh has been eaten out already, so it's just like a shell almost.
Yeah.
I had one on my wall at one point when I was like 23.
A horseshoe crab?
Yeah, I found it like LBI or something. I just like bam around the wall.
We'll see if we can get them going as a delicacy.
I'm sure if eating horseshoe crab. Look, I mean, people eat puffins, so horseshoe crabs are edible. You won't find the same level of meat that you get in a snow crab or a king crab. The main delicacy is the eggs.
Yeah, which birds eat.
But you could be eating them. Apparently, they're popular in Thailand.
Huh, I didn't know that.
There you go.
There we go. And there's your 4th of July fact. So, Kyle, initial thoughts on the John Fry announcement. We knew this was coming. 14 years at Drexel, experienced president, experienced urban planner. What do you think? Yeah,
I'd kind of been hearing his name for a while now. I'd say maybe like 3-4 weeks, despite anybody else maybe kind of hypothesizing other things, just not really in the business of breaking academia news, I guess is how we'll phrase it. But I think the initial concern that people had was obviously that op-ed from 2016 where he talked about, hey, we're glad that Drexel doesn't have football. It's just a massive deficit on people's budgets and yada, yada, yada. I think a little bit of that is kind of put to the side with Jeff Nyberg's article this morning where he spoke to John Fry.
I think Jeff tweeted it out. I don't think Jeff wrote it.
I'm pretty sure he did.
I thought Jeff just tweeted it out.
I thought he wrote the. Oh, is this his name? Okay, sorry, Sue Snyder, who I should know. I don't think I follow Sue Snyder. I follow Jeff Nyberg. Yeah, so the Sue Snyder article where he says, "Hey, I have no plans on cutting Temple football." One, to be clear, I don't think that's a president decision. Regardless, right. I think that's more of the next level. Like, sure, could the president come in and say, "Hey, I've identified this as a bad loss, and like we need to like kind of reevaluate that"? Sure, but ultimately it comes down to the board of trustees. I think that being said, the cynic in me says, "What else is he going to say?" Mm-hmm. Like, he hasn't even started yet. He's not going to start until Drexel has their president. He's not going to come in on July 3rd and be like, hey, by the way, enjoy this last season because I'm coming for it. Like, that's not really how grown-ups work and how major positions within a university work. But I think from a strictly university perspective, I think it's a good hire because, look, you're hiring somebody that's done this for 22 years now, 14 at Drexel, before that at Franklin and Marshall, who is established, who has like a track record of kind of doing what Temple needs to do, which is steadying the boat and nurturing bonds with the neighborhood, but also fundraising.
Yes.
And a lot of opportunities to kind of build out the campus. He talked about the innovation corridor between the health science campus and main campus as an opportunity, which, look, if you can somehow find a way to bridge that 1.5 miles or so in between the two campuses, that's, well, first of all, Temple's campus itself would be huge at that point. But yes, that would also be huge. There's built-in public transit already there. The North Broad Regional Rail is already there. There's 2 or 3 subway stations in that corridor that you can kind of flesh out more.
Can you name them?
So Susquehanna.
Is Erie one of them?
Erie is the north side of Health Science Campus.
Okay.
So the south side of Health Science Campus is Allegheny. There's one in between it. I think it's just North Philadelphia. North Philadelphia is the subway stop in between Susquehanna and Allegheny, I believe. They have those in there. I've been trying to bring Max's Steaks to main campus for 15 years now.
We got to get them into the Leah Core Center.
Yeah, we've got to find a way. So yeah, I think from a strictly university perspective, pretty much not a top-notch hire, but a great hire that I think will kind of provide stability to a position that has been arguably the most unstable university president position in the nation over the last 5 years. Athletically, we'll see. I mean, Drexel's athletics were a lot different than Temple. I mean, their flagship program, their men's basketball program is decent. It's starting to get better, but they also sponsor programs like squash. It's a bit different here. I'll be curious to see if he has strong opinions about that, or if it's, hey, let athletics kind of govern athletics. All we do is kind of help set the budget. I'll be curious if he's involved in that at all. But at the very least, it's encouraging to know that somebody that has done it before 2 times is given the opportunity to do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. I think on that level, I think it's an excellent hire. And we'll talk about this more in the mailbag. And obviously, people who are listening to this podcast want to know how he feels about athletics. Look, I mean, we can't really offer you any hot takes. I think Kyle's perspective on this is a good one. I mean, my next conversation with John Fry will be my first one. And I would imagine that he's a smart enough person to know that athletics at Temple are different than athletics at Drexel. Again, he's a very skilled fundraiser. I get that he's dealing with maybe a different fundraising base, but the guy's been an excellent fundraiser. I think will come in with ideas. And like you said, Kyle, I mean, what else is he going to say? It'd be a wonderful story if he came in and said, hey, we do think that we can make football profitable or close to profitable. Here's how we can do it. Be a hell of a story. Obviously, there's a bigger divide now than ever before between the haves and the have-nots, but we'll see. But on so many of those levels, excellent hire. All right, so Samuel O'Neill and Sidney Rochnick from the Temple News got to have about, I think, 15 or 20 minutes on Zoom on Wednesday with John Fry. So in full disclosure of the work that I do at Temple, I'm the advisor to the Temple News. So this audio of John Fry talking about Temple athletics is courtesy of the Temple News, and you can check out their coverage at temple-news.com and follow all their coverage of Temple hiring John Fry. But they passed along this audio to us, and here's a little bit again of Temple's new president, John Fry, talking about just athletics, how he views it, and wanted to include that in here so you guys get some perspective on this.
I don't know how they got there on the $4 to $5 million number. I know the Eagles leadership very well. These are very good people. The owner, Jeff Lurie, Don Smolensky, who's the president. And so I think, I don't mean to defer, but I think I probably have to understand what are the typical economics for this type of thing. What are we doing to make that experience easy for students? So, for example, are there shuttles? Because it's not easy to get down there unless you have a car. And, what's the value proposition? And I really want to sort of look at that and try to understand all of that before I could give you sort of a solid opinion about whether or not there's an adequate return on that investment. Well, I mean, on the first point, I think the thing I would want to see is what's the portfolio analysis of where we stack up, sport by sport. I know we have 19, and so what are the strengths and what are the challenges for each of the teams? So just so I can understand, do we have the right kind of commitments in place for student athletes, for coaches? Do we have the right kind of facilities? What does our travel schedule look like? And things of that nature. Just the basics. And I would want to spend significant time with the athletic director and the coaches, which is something that I've done in the past at Drexel. I did something similar when I arrived there in 2010. And over time, I think we've been able to move all the sports along in terms of either the sort of coaching capacity or improvements in facilities, certainly in basketball for us. And Sam, I really need to learn the program because I don't know much about it. Right now we're in a different conference than Temple, and we don't have football, so that's another big difference. On the NIL, I mean, that is going to take a concerted effort on Temple's part to really reach out to alumni and other benefactors and make the case for why Temple athletics is worthy of additional investments. I think that's, I don't want to comment on what I think is the excessive commercialization of intercollegiate athletics right now. It's a painful thing to watch. On the other hand, it is the reality that we face right now. And I would want to make sure that after understanding the state of the program, what are the kind of things that we can do to bolster the investments where we think we have a chance to compete better? Once again, I think making sure I'm connected to the SAC, the Student Advisory Committee that Temple has relative to making sure that I understand too what's the experience of student athletes, what are the things that they're hoping for relative to additional investments that will make the programs more competitive. So that's a long way of saying I have a lot of getting up to speed to do. I have some experience. When I was at Franklin and Marshall, I was chair of Division III, the President's Council. I've been on the NCAA board for Division I. I've chaired our conference, and I also chaired a national athletic organization, the National Squash Association. So I've been involved in athletics, for all these years. Two of my three children are student athletes. I'm really passionate about this, and I'm really looking forward to sort of understanding the lay of the land and seeing what I can do to help make improvements.
All right, thanks to Sam O'Neill and Sydney Rochnick from the Temple News for passing along some audio from their interview with new Temple president John Fry. There are two clips there that you heard. The first one, John Fry is talking about that $4 to $5 million number that is often cited when people talk about the rent that the Eagles charge Temple to play at the Link. So John Fry is talking about that, and Sam had asked John if playing at the Link is sustainable over the long term. And then the second clip you heard, Sam had asked John, in terms of athletics, what do you want to see change in order for Temple to be successful? Do you have a strategy for or vision regarding Temple's relationship with name, image, and likeness? So some interesting stuff there. And I think John Fry offered some pretty fair answers, and otherwise saying I need to get the lay of the land before I can really lean in on this. But I think it offers some perspective here. So we want to thank Sam and Sydney for passing along that audio to us. Really appreciate it. Again, check out their coverage. They've been doing some great coverage of Temple's search for a new president, and of course, Temple's decision to hire John Fry. Again, you can find that at temple-news.com. They'll have a lot more coming in the next few weeks, and of course, into the fall semester. Wanted to remind everybody, I've mentioned before in previous weeks that there was going to be a part 2 of my conversation with Dionte Christmas. Posted that on Tuesday. A lot of fun. Like I've said before, Dionte's a great storyteller. I think a lot of you know about the story that went viral about him when he was in the NBA and talking smack to LeBron James and finally got LeBron's ear. And then LeBron just basically made him pay for it. And Dionte thought he was going to get released after that. But he brought that story up. A lot of good stuff in the second part of our interview. He talks about just what's good, what's bad about NIL and the transfer portal. Talks about Devin Booker, a player that I think Temple's still keeping an eye on and recruiting at Cristo Rey, where Dionte is an assistant on Kyle Sample's staff. So just a lot of good stuff. Again, if you watch Dionte play, if you're a big Temple basketball fan, give it a listen. I think you guys will really enjoy it. Again, he's a great storyteller. I mentioned at the outset of the show that Temple guard Quante Berry is going to be hosting a Lupus Links golf outing on July 10th. So that's coming up in less than a week at Green Valley Country Club up on Ridge Pike in Lafayette Hill. So it's 201 Ridge Pike. You can challenge Quante to a round of Pop-A-Shot basketball, support a great cause. That's something that's really near and dear to him. And again, good job to Tough Fun for finding causes and initiatives and things that are important to these players when they sign them to these NIL deals. So that's something that's been really important to Quante. So if you're interested, check that out. We retweeted the Tough Fun's tweet about it, so you can find more information if you follow us on Twitter, @OwlScoop_com. So again, something that should be fun for Temple fans to be involved with. If you can get over there, again, it's July 10th, the Green Valley Country Club, 201 Ridge Pike in Lafayette Hill.
Real quick, how are you as a Pop-A-Shot guy?
How am I as a Pop-Shot guy?
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be really good. I realize I'm trying to think of the last time I did it, maybe like a couple years ago on the Ocean City boardwalk. I feel like I need a few rounds at first. I realize I'm like too strong with it. And then when you get like a rhythm down with it, you're like, oh, this is fun. How about you?
Yeah, but yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, you definitely get into like a groove and you're like, oh, now I'm in like 9 in a row. The whole thing with Pop-A-Shot though is like it's not take your time, line up and shoot like basketball. It's just volume. So like you're like it's all just transition, shoot. So like it's funny seeing people that haven't done it. You go up and you're like, oh, when I shoot this like a regular basketball, you're like, no, you're just throwing this at the rim.
Yes, yeah, you're right. It's volume shots. You don't need time. You don't have much time. You gotta get them up.
RIP to Stadium Grill in Upper Euclid, Pennsylvania, was a kind of like a chicken tenders and whatever place and sodas place that I had growing up that we used to just destroy Pop-A-Shot. $1 Pop-A-Shot game, I probably have spent $200+ there.
Wait, I feel where was Stadium Grill? In the Clemens?
It closed 15 years ago.
Was it in like the Clemens / Giant shopping center?
No, it was in Eagle.
Oh, an Eagle. An Eagle. Okay.
Yeah,
100.
I'm trying to remember exactly where the hell it was. Because they had 2 locations, Stadium Grill, Chester Springs. You want to call it that, whatever. Chester Springs, Eagle, Upper Euclid, it's all the same. 570, there we go. 570 Simpson Drive, which was right off 100. Yeah, that was making sense there. The Acme off 100.
What was the big general store up there? Ludwig's Corner? Is that it?
Ludwig's Corner is the name of a town, but there's a general store up there, yeah. Ludwig's Corner also has like now they do like a country music festival up there and just like a field. And every time I see that, I'm like, how? Infrastructure wise, how does it handle anybody more than like there's like a Sunoco in Ludwig's Corner? Like that's it. But yeah, it's like
that's where it is, right on 113 near the intersection of 113 and 401.
Talking about Ludwig's Corner?
Yeah. Is that where it is? Okay, yeah, okay. All right.
Eagle, there this was more like, you go up 100,
gotcha.
You go past Eagle View. It used to be on your left, but it's been closed for quite some time.
Throwing a couple of pitches over the plate to our Chester County listeners.
Yeah, maybe you guys are out there. Occasionally, when I go out to Downtown or Coatesville, wherever I'm visiting family, sometimes instead of going off like 202 to 30, I'll just stay on the turnpike and get off in like Downtown exit. And I just take 113 down and can catch 30. And I just make Meg go through like memories. I'm like, and here's where I did this, and here's where that. She's like, I could just do it by heart at this point, and I don't care. She's like, I wasn't here for any of these, and yet you're going to tell me that used to. Guess what that building used to be? Guess what this used to be?
You put her through what I put you through when you said one of my favorite John DiCarlo things is I probably told you the story before, and then I tell it anyway.
Yeah, I've fallen into that. I think that was just an age thing. Like I'm 35 years old now. I think I'm old. I'm 2 years older, 3 years older than you were when I met you. So like I'm at that point in my life now where I preface things with, I've definitely told you this story before, and I just tell it anyway because I'm telling it for myself. I just want to hear the story myself. I want to remember when I was young and full of vigor, and doesn't really matter who's there to hear it. And unfortunately, my wife has to bear the brunt of most of that.
Let's jump into the mailbag. Like I said, this is going to be a mailbag heavy episode. We'll go through all the mailbag questions we got. Now, this one, of course, came out on the boards before the John Fry news came out and was released. So Temple J from a screen name from our OwlScoop message board said Temple President news. Well, Temple J, you know it by now. Because John Fry has been hired as Temple's president.
Well, I guess the only like news with that, other than the obvious, is the fact that he won't be starting until Drexel hires their new president, and that Dick Englert is staying on as chancellor.
Yeah.
So imagine if Drexel takes like a year and a half to find his new president.
Probably won't. And I think, can we reasonably assume that John Fry will be in close touch with Mitch Morgan and
yeah, it's not like he's like, guys, I set my out of office. You please don't contact me. Like major decisions are obviously.
I will not be answering emails.
Yeah. What's the standard out of office? I have limited access to my phone and emails, as if every time I put that out of office, as if I'm not just staring at every email that comes in.
Yeah.
I have limited access.
Yeah. So Temple J, you know who Temple's president is now. Temple fan Al, we've talked about this already. Initial thoughts on John Fry. Again, the Inquirer's done a great job covering it. The Temple News, again, I'm a little biased. I'm their advisor. They've done a great job of covering it. You can read their coverage online. Again, a very skilled fundraiser, urban planner. He's experienced. There's no, hoping that this person will grow into the role. I think it's a really exciting hire for Temple. We've talked about the athletics perspective. We'll see how that plays out. Al Worldwide is the screen name here. This is a multi-part question, so feel free to answer however you'd like. And this is for basketball. With the roster essentially filled up and the majority of the schedule already announced, does Temple compete for an at-large bid?
My gut says no. My gut says no because I don't think there's going to be enough opportunities in the out-of-conference schedule for them to be like, yep, our net is 39 and give us that chance. I think Temple's best bet at the NCAA tournament is to win the American Athletic Conference. I believe that this roster has the talent and opportunity to win the American Athletic Conference.
Yeah. Yep. Well said. Can you think of any schools that they're playing or teams that they're playing in the non-conference schedule? Like, maybe you get, and I think somebody mentions this in the mailbag, like maybe you get Nova in the Big Five if you meet them in the other pod in the championship game.
Is that a good thing for your net?
I don't know. I mean, they have to see how Neptune blends that roster together. If Woga Poplar is really the savior that you think he's going to be. Again, very good player, but I agree. Initial read on it, I agree with you. I don't know that. Again, these things can always change. Well, it'll be interesting to see what UAB's roster looks like.
Maybe Florida State gets really good and you get them early. You beat them.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You beat them at a neutral site, which helps. Like, there's opportunities there, but like it's not a sure thing. I mean, in fairness, not all the schedule is out there. I don't think there's anything massive we're missing here. But no, I just don't see it. But that means, look, if they have a week out of conference schedule and they still go 16-2 in conference and they win 25 games and don't win the conference, then they probably still have a shot at it. But like, I just think it's a team that needs to learn how to play together. They're hopefully playing better basketball in February and March than they are in November and December, and go from there. I mean, it's a more talented roster than it was last year. And they were 40 minutes away from making the tournament last year.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, if you didn't listen to last week's episode, talk to Matteo Piccarelli. One of the things I asked him, just as I had asked Steve Settle, was how did you guys turn things around after things had really hit rock bottom with the loss to UAB, and some good stuff from him there along that front. The second and third parts of Al Worldwide's question kind of go together. So he's asking us in this three-parter, are Adam Fisher and company going to use that last scholarship, meaning for the 2025 class? And then he's also asking, for the 2024 class, of that last spot on the roster. And he also asks, with Justin Hauser off the board, Justin Hauser is from the Phelps School. We reported that he took an unofficial to Temple, but also said that Penn State would be in the mix. He did commit to to Penn State. So he says, with Justin Hauser off the board, are there any other bigs that seem to be a priority for the 2025 class? So I'm going to use the second part of your question, Al Worldwide, to answer the third. They probably are going to use that last scholarship. I would take an educated guess to say that it's probably going to be on a developmental international big. And if they get that type of player, that's probably going to, again, a developmental big. Things are fluid every year. Think of any cliche you can think of. But I think if they use that last scholarship, which I think they plan to do probably on a big, then you would conceivably head into the following season again, provided everybody stays, with the Mohamed Keita, with this international big, with the Dylan Battie, and then Elijah Gray, who again is more of a stretch four. So one could take care of the other right there. So keep an eye on, I'd say, the next few weeks or so for your answer on that question.
Yeah, I would say it's getting late early a little bit. All right, not even getting late early. It's getting a little late in the recruiting cycle. So like things have to kind of pop off soon if you expect this guy to be there in the fall.
Yeah. New England Al asks us, I haven't seen Jamal Mashburn Jr. in any social media posts. Is he on campus yet?
He even posted this. New England Al followed up to his own post.
Yes.
And said,
yeah, and he said, and sure enough, there he is. So yeah, he is on campus. As I understand it, he's still recovering from something that he was dealing with at the end of last season. I don't even know if it's necessarily related to the thumb injury, but I've been told it's nothing that's gonna keep him out of action for the fall. Should be ready to go. So yes, he's on campus, progressing nicely, should be ready to contribute to the team this year and be, hopefully for Temple's sake, the guard that they need him in and want him to
hopefully be. Hopefully a little more than contribute to the team.
Yeah. Hopefully like maybe one of their leading scorers.
Yeah, hopefully push for like a first team all conference.
Yes.
Would be pretty much what Temple
which he has the capability to do if he's healthy.
Yeah.
D-Blaze75, who also kind of throws a Braves question at you that we'll get to in a second.
Oh boy.
And this is the first one. This is kind of a follow-up or add-on question to Al Worldwide. I thought the exempt tournaments had been announced for Temple. Will they still play in a holiday non-exempt tournament? Any word on what that might be? Also, can we expect at least 2 games against power schools, not including the possibility of Nova? So there's no, just for clarity's sake, there's really no such thing as a non-exempt tournament anymore. So again, probably a couple spots left open for
2 or 3
games. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, they filled, they're playing Rhode Island. That's not a power. I mean, it's an A10 school.
Florida State.
Yeah. Possibility. Yes. I mean, I've heard just a few different things here and there, but nothing that we could confirm just yet. Will they still be playing in a holiday tournament?
Depends what you mean by holiday. I mean, if you're talking like Christmas, like no, they're not going to the Diamond Head Classic or anything like that. No. I mean, but the Basketball Hall of Fame showcase is kind of over that like Thanksgiving stretch.
Depends on what you consider a holiday.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Columbus Day?
We work. I hate to hear what your policy is on Victory over Japan Day.
But yeah, I think there's still a handful of spots out there. The reality is that with the Big Five Classic, with an 18-game conference schedule, there's not that many spots usually in the out-of-conference schedule. You're just hoping that they kind of avoid some of those really low ones like Bloomsburg last year. But we'll see. Also, I mean, St. Joe's already announced their out-of-conference schedule, so you would expect that schedule to drop soonish for Temple.
Yeah.
And I never fully put it past Temple to kind of drag its feet a little bit and say,
yeah,
let's announce on October 15th the games in 3 weeks.
Oh, you didn't notice we're playing Michigan State? Yeah.
Yeah, you noticed we played them yesterday. We won. You guys weren't there. There's no TV. Don't talk to Izzo about it. He's still sore.
Dionte told a great story about that, the NCAA tournament game where Tom Izzo.
That was they're just
3 guys.
3 guys at Dionte every game, right? Every play.
Izzo called it like the 6 eyes defense, and yeah, he just said, I never realized how short and tiny he was. He sounded like Kevin Hart telling the story. It was kind of funny.
To be fair, it worked.
Oh yeah,
it wasn't Dionte's best game.
No. He was like, that's when I realized the difference between the Atlantic 10 and the Big 10. Talking about just how physical they were. He's like, every time I went into the lane, just.
Is that the one in Denver? Was that bad?
Yes, in Denver. Yeah. And again, if you listen to this, again, this is in the second part. Again, OwlScoop.com subscribers get access to this. I don't want to give away the whole thing, but yeah, he's like, I have asthma to begin with. So we're playing in Denver, and these guys were just beating the hell out of me. So
I think I told this story before. But I remember my freshman year, it's the first time, obviously, like we're Temple students, they're going to the tournament, like 6 ABC or something. I was like, and we'll be live with Temple at 11 o'clock or something in Denver. So me and my roommates were like pre-gamed a little bit. We're going to watch this. We're going to get hamped up. This is great. And the actual like interview on 6ABC was like Dionte or Tyndale or Chris Clark or somebody being like, man, the altitude's really affecting us up here. Like it's going to be an adjustment. And we're all just like, the energy sucked out of the door. We're like, crap, they're going to get the shit kicked out of them, aren't they?
And
they lost.
Yeah. It was a good Michigan State team they faced. That was Dom's first trip to the tournament with Temple. D-Blaze75, second question for you. Question for Kyle. What are your thoughts on the Braves at midseason? Will they make the playoffs despite the injuries?
Do I think they're going to make the playoffs? Sure,
Yes.
absolutely. I think there's going to be a below 500 wild card team in the National League. Like I think with the way the format is now, it's so easy to make the playoffs. Yeah, I mean, they still have a very good pitching staff, despite losing Spencer.
They still scare the hell out of me.
Well, they shouldn't scare the hell out of you, but they're still a good team. Like even with the, I guess you could say Strider might have been like the Cy Young favorite coming into the season. Even with him going down after 2 starts, you still have 4 really good starters. I think like every other contending team in the league, they want to add a starter, they want to add a corner outfielder because that's what everybody wants to do. But like,
they have the prospects to make sure. No? Is that just like a general assumption?
That's your general vibe of the Braves farm system. The Braves farm system, Alex Anthopoulos has really gone in on this current lineup is the current lineup. Like there's no hitting prospects. There's Nacho Alvarez in AAA, and then there's nobody until like single A. But there's a crap ton of college like pitchers that are like ready. So like, yeah, you can move some of those. Baseball is not football or basketball where it's like the best team is going to win the title. Yeah. It's whoever gets hot at the right time. When the Braves won the World Series 3 years ago, they got hot in 2021, and Jock Peterson went crazy for a series, and then Jorge Soler goes crazy for a series. I think they're going to be in that same similar boat. I think they're going to make the postseason, and once you're in there, figure it out. They're also
that's what scares me about them.
This is going to be a little bit of a backhanded comment. They're making the postseason is so like old hat to the Braves that they set their rotations up for the postseason. Like they've been doing a 6-man rotation the entire year, just to keep arms fresh because Chris Sale hasn't pitched a full season since 2019. He looks great. Reynaldo Lopez hasn't pitched a full season as a starter since 2019 or whatever. So those guys are going with like a week rest every single start to save them for October. So we'll see. I mean, I think that will hopefully prove beneficial to them, but I wish they had another bat. I wish Matt Olson was hitting 50 homers again. Austin Riley's kind of snapped out of it lately, so he's been playing better. They still have the bats. They just haven't produced yet. But yes, I think they'll make the postseason.
Coming up next on the MLB Network.
I think the Phillies will win the division. I don't think that's a bold take. I mean, they're 9 games up. That being said, people a month ago, including, I'm just going to call them out by name, including Mike Jensen, tweeting like, oh yeah, the postseason races are over. I'm sorry, it's a 162-game season. Yep. Even with the Phillies up 10 games, the Braves overcame a 10-game deficit to the Mets 3 years ago. It happens. It's a very long season.
Around too. So.
Yeah, they'll probably make the postseason too. The NL East is a good division this year. And honestly, even the bad teams aren't that bad. The Nationals aren't that far away from contending. Like legitimately, they have such good young pitching. A year or two from now, you can be like, oh, crap, the Nationals are good again.
Yeah,
Marlins are still the Marlins, so don't worry about that.
Yeah. Last mailbag question to close us out comes from our friend Courtney Redmond, former Temple News staff member and longtime girlfriend of our buddy Tom Magnudo. So Courtney's a huge sports fan, huge Sixers fan, and she jumped in on Twitter because she enjoyed, which you made me laugh out loud when I posted the picture of Bear at my laptop. And I was
why do you think I posted Jesus Christ?
Because I was speaking as Bear.
Because you didn't even respond to Chris Vito when you were tweeting at Chris Vito. You responded to your own posts with like, well, Uncle Chris, if you could just put in a question. Chris didn't get that notification because you didn't tweet at him. So it was doubling up of like you apply a human voice to a dog, calling Chris Vito Uncle Chris, and then not tweeting at him. It was a combination. I was like, no, we're done with this.
Sorry about that. That's embarrassing. Sorry, Chris. Sorry to the Twitter community.
Yeah, this is just something people are like, is John okay? He's tweeting to himself. He's tweeting to himself as if he was a little Shih Tzu.
Tweeting from the North Cape may act me. Yeah. Fair enough. So Courtney wrote this. Here's her mailbag question. Hi, Bear, longtime fan, first time caller here. She said that the picture of Bear looked like he was a DJ putting together a set. So she said, got some questions for you. First, I'd like to request a few songs, including Girls of Summer by Corey Hart, Let's Go by The Cars, and Mr. Blue Sky by ELO. Kyle, any thoughts on any of those songs?
Corey Hart, I only think of
Sunglasses
at Night.
Never Surrender is a good Corey Hart song. Yeah, check that one out. Like very 80s-esque, like just going into the wind.
It's not. Oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking of No Surrender by Springsteen. I was like, he didn't cover Springsteen, did he?
No.
Okay. No, I literally only think of Sunglasses at Night. Actually, I don't even know if I know any of these songs.
Let's Go by The Cars. You've never heard that?
Sing me the chorus.
Let's go, let's go. I can't. Now I start to sound like Junior's Farm.
You were sounding that you were singing like the Beach Boys there almost. Like kind of your cadence with it. And I was like, what are we doing here?
I thank you.
No. Let me, to be clear, by no means am I saying your skill or your, I was not complimenting you. I was just saying the cadence of the way you were singing was almost kind of like, we're in California, we're going to the shore.
Thank you. Let me be clear. I was not
complimenting. I want to be 100% clear. I was not trying to build you up.
Yeah. So it's a good playlist there. All right. So secondly, Courtney wants to know, where do you see the Temple Athletics program going with John Fry at the helm? Additionally, do you see it benefiting the university's overall reputation and relationship?
I know Mr. Blue Sky.
Oh, you do?
I'm listening to it. I know Mr. Blue Sky.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So the athletics part of Courtney's question is, okay, secondly, where do you see the Temple Athletics program going with John Fry at the helm? Additionally, do you see it benefiting the university's overall reputation and relationship with sports, not only on campus, but beyond, either within the city or on a larger scale? Again, there are cynics out there who think, well, of course, yeah, what else is he going to say? But he said the right thing to the Inquirer, and that, athletics can be a gateway to the university. So at least in some way, shape, or form, he's saying that publicly, and he gets that. Again, I've never talked to John Fry before. I think he's a really, really smart guy. But I think we know on the most basic level that, yes, when athletics is doing well, that time when football had that great stretch, around the time that the basketball was really consistent, yeah, it's like John Chaney used to say, anytime Temple's on TV and they see Temple, people see Temple across their jerseys, it's a 2 or 3 hour advertisement for Temple. And we've seen notable instances either at Temple, at St. Joe's, all over the place, where like it can affect enrollment. So I think it definitely can have an effect on the university. I think people would be mistaken to say, oh, he came from Drexel, he doesn't care about athletics. I think that would be, and I'm not saying that's what Courtney is saying here, but I think that maybe the average fan, if there is such a thing as an average fan, maybe that's their biggest fear. But again, I think John Fry's smart enough to know that the Temple job is a different job than the Drexel job. Not that there aren't some similarities, but again, I would put my money on athletics becoming better under him because of his propensity for being a fundraiser, because of the deep business networks he has. As always, we'll see.
I'll just say, even if it was instead of John Fry, what's the quote with Bronny James now from Rich Paul, where he's like, even if his name was John Smith, he'd be in the NBA. Even if John Fry's name was Steve Johnson, like anybody, an outside opinion is a good thing for Temple Athletics.
Yes.
Temple Athletics has not been good in 5 years, period, across the board. The last time you could probably feel good about Temple Athletics was when they went to the Military Bowl right before they got beat by UNC, and Dunphy's last year when they go to the tournament. Since then, whether there's plenty of legitimate reasons for that, like COVID legitimately was a factor in Philadelphia more than it was in some other smaller college towns. Since then, Temple Athletics has not been good. So bringing in somebody who is going to probably hold people accountable for things that maybe they haven't been held accountable for in the last 3, 4, 5 years can be nothing but a positive, in my opinion, for Temple Athletics. I think it's the opposite of a fish rots from the head down. It's kind of like a rising waters lifts all ships. Like, I think if Temple University gets better, Temple Athletics gets better.
Yeah. Well, I think even like the last time people could feel good about Temple Athletics, look at just that 4 or 5 day stretch.
Sure.
During the American Athletic Conference tournament, where fans were starting to think, oh my God, I forgot what meaningful March conference tournament basketball felt like.
They were so starved for positive outcomes.
Yeah. So, Courtney, appreciate the question. Thank you for checking in, Courtney. Again, as a former Temple News graphic designer, hell of a talented person, big sports fan. Love the question. Thanks for the shout out to Bear. Appreciate it.
I have some strong opinions about Paul George.
Yeah.
Like we all do. I told Meg, I woke up in the middle of the night, saw the Paul George sign thing. And I told her that like the next morning, like 7 a.m. as she's dealing with our 2 children. You could tell she's like just being polite. She's like, oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Good news, Kyle. Yeah. I'm changing a shitty diaper right now.
What are your 4th of July plans? Close things out here.
I don't know what the hell's the name of the town. We're going to one of Meg's friends for like a parade and stuff. But for the most part, I'm almost a little activitied out after a week straight up in the Finger Lakes. So I'm just looking forward to just not doing anything for a day. It's not even a Kyle time. There's no Kyle time anymore. There's always somebody with children. The quick selfless plug, even though I've met the minimum, I'm already good.
Yes, tell people about the bike ride.
Oh, yeah. So I'm participating in a 65-mile bike ride from Ben Franklin Bridge down to Atlantic City. It used to be called Tour de Shore, which was a much cooler name. Now they call it the Ben to AC, whatever. ride 65 miles to benefit the children of fallen first responders. I have met my fundraising goal, but if you have the means and still feel like you want to support me in this cause, none of the money comes to me. Obviously, it's all donations to the charity. Tweeted it. It's on my Facebook. If you're Facebook friends with me, if you're an OwlScoop subscriber, it's on OwlScoop. But yeah, I've never biked this far in my life. We will see how it goes. My concerns are as follows. It's entirely the beginning. The fact that like there's thousands and thousands of people going over the Ben Franklin Bridge at the same time, and a lot of these people are like clipped in cyclists, like they're clipped into their bikes, meaning if they fall, like they're not gonna be able to get a foot down. I'm gonna have to be so hyper aware of everybody's movements during that. That part concerns me.
It's a little domino effect.
Yeah, and then I seize the gap and I just I go around them. Yeah, I'm not concerned about cardio. I think I'm in pretty decent shape. I don't think that'll be a problem. It's also like you're not going 65 miles straight. Like there's like 3 or 4 like stops in there where you can like drink water and stuff. It'll be fine. I'm worried about that initial part. I've also only ridden a bike once in the last like 3 or 4 years, so my bike is currently getting serviced. So I will have to cycle before then. I'm just more of a stationary bike guy. But yeah, it'll be fine. My wife's done it 3 times. My brother-in-law has done it once. This will be my first time trying it. So
what is the route? Where do you go? Over the bridge, and then you go like Admiral Wilson Boulevard? Like you're not obviously going, well, I don't want to say obviously because I don't really know. You're not going like 676 to 42, right?
So in the very beginning, when you first do it, they shut down the Ben Franklin Bridge, right? Like that is like you're just by yourself. Once you get over the Ben Franklin Bridge, it's not really shut down anymore. You're on public streets. Like you're kind of just like going off the fact that you are with hopefully hundreds of other people, but you go through like Haddonfield, you're on Haddon Ave, but then like once it gets like further down to the actual like getting down to the shore, you end up taking you go through West Berlin, you take is it 30 down there?
That's where Kelly Ripp is from, Berlin, I think.
Yeah, so you take 30 all the way down, eventually in Waterford, you get to Old White Horse Pike. You kind of come in like a little north of White Horse Pike and the AC Expressway. And then once you get closer, Hamilton. Yeah, you're kind of just like taking like pseudo back rounds. You go through a bunch of places where Temple's gotten recruits from the past. You get closer and then you come in, again, via
Wisdom
30.
Porsche, St. Joe Hamilton.
Yeah, Wisdom Porsche, probably your starting right guard.
Some blueberries out there.
Yeah, so 30 again, then you kind of come in.
Yeah.
You don't come in over the Atlantic City Expressway. You come in like the north side of AC and then kind of come down. And it used to be Irish pub to Irish pub. You would start at the Irish pub in Center City and Rittenhouse, and then you go to the Irish pub in AC, and now they start you at the bridge, and you go to not even the Irish pub anymore. You go to like a parking lot next to the Irish pub.
How are you guys gonna like spend the night in AC to celebrate, or you just get?
Yeah, so my sister is going to drive to Ambler, pick us up, drive us to the starting line, then go to AC, which I used to do when this was Meg doing this. I would drop Meg off at AC, and I'd beeline it to I'd drop her off in Philly, and I'd beeline it to AC and just like play blackjack for 3 hours. But now my sister will be going down there. I don't know if she's checking in or what. She'll be meeting there. My brother-in-law will be down there. My brother-in-law's wife will be down there. I think my friend Ashley said she wanted to meet us down there, and I didn't respond.
Ashley's probably you're not far from Ashley's place on the way there, right?
I'm probably gonna drive right through her town. Yeah. She lives in Haddonfield. But yeah, so I'll be staying down there. Originally, I was gonna stay at the Showboat because that's where the block was. And then thank goodness, not to crap in the Showboat. If you want to sponsor us, please sponsor us. My sister was like, it's cheaper for us to just stay at Bally's than it is for you to use the block rate at Showboat. So, and then my sister tried selling me on it. Like, oh, well, Bally's has the Wild Wild West Mountain Bar. And I had to like stop her off. I was like, you don't need to mansplain Bally's to me. Okay, I know all about Bally's in AC.
Yes.
I have been there till 5 a.m. and then covered a 9 a.m. game the next day. Okay, you did not have to tell me about Bally's.
9 a.m. game might be a bit of an exaggeration.
Yeah, well, it's being a little hyperbolic for the story. But
you and Nick Menta loved Wild Wild West.
Wild Wild West Bar. Wild Wild West Bar has become a lot more PC since then, rightfully so. It was a little extreme, like pushing some limits for a while. But yeah, now they've kind of like become more like poker and beer pong and blah blah. So it'll be fun. There's live music. I'm hoping it's a good day. If so, I'll just pop out to a beach bar for a couple hours. I'm working the next day, so I'll probably be waking up like 5 a.m. driving back to Philly.
You go to Laguna, where Chelsea and I got married, where we had our
it's La Scala now, right?
La Scala's, yeah.
It's the same people that own like La Scala Fire.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Okay, because there's La Scala Fire right down the street from me. I actually saw Lynn Greer III post a video about
He did. Yeah, he
Laguna,
was
La
at the old
Scala.
Scala at the shore. Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this is good. Like they're kind of like renovating. They probably could have used a facelift. Like this is good. But then they were like, and by the way, we're also renting cabanas and private apartments on the weekend. And I was like, now you're not my vibe. I
No,
don't need.
now it's becoming like people used to love Laguna and that spot in Brigantine because they're like, oh, this is a great, like not a super well kept secret, but kind of like chill, laid back. Now it's like leaning heavily into the jerseys.
Leaning heavily.
Sweet.
Yeah, pray for me in 3 weeks.
Yes.
For
Yes.
for those that did donate, I know I got a fair amount of donations from OwlScoop and from other people.
Mhm.
John, appreciate it. I truly appreciate it. I try not to ask for things like that very often, but I appreciate even if you gave $4, it still went a long way.
Kyle, what's your Twitter handle again so people can find you?
Kyle Gauss.
Yes.
It's at Kyle Gauss. Gauss is spelled Gauss.
Conventional spelling of Kyle. That'll do it for
Yep.
this week. Hope you guys all have a wonderful 4th of July holiday, great weekend. Hope you all are enjoying your summers, and we'll talk to you soon.